let's start looking at some really basic unit conversion problems. Most unit conversion problems just basically look like this. You start with a unit, and it's telling you to convert it to a different unit. You find some relationship between the unit you want and the unit you want to get to. And notice that we always, whatever unit I start with, that goes on the bottom of the next step, so that when I do these multiplication, those cancel, and I'm left with the unit that I want. So the big thing to keep in mind here is that your units must always cancel. Using units in this way is called dimensional analysis, and they can actually be really helpful in you figuring out how to solve a problem. Sometimes things aren't obvious, but as long as you're making your units cancel, you're probably on the right track. So units should always, always, always be included in your calculations. So let's look at a really simple example. Let's convert 15.5 centimeters to inches. So I always like to use this three-step approach. Determine what's given, what you need to find, and then try and put these pieces together to get from your starting point to whatever you need to find. So what am I given? Well, I know I start with 15.5 centimeters, and I know this relationship. 1 inch is equal to 2.45 centimeters. And I can write this as a fraction too. I could write it as 1 inch over 2.45 centimeters, or I could flip it. So when you have an equality, because these are equal, you can turn it into a fraction, which we call a conversion factor. What do I need to find? Well, it told me to convert it to inches, so I must need to find inches. Now I need to connect them. So notice I started with just a number by itself, and then an equality, which I turned into a fraction. If that's the case, always start with the number by itself, and then just try and make your units cancel. So I'm going to start here with the 15.5 centimeters, and I'm going to set up a conversion, and I know that since I had centimeters here, I'm going to have to put centimeters on the bottom here. So what I'm going to do is go back to my relationship and say, oh, I already know that 1 inch is equal to 2.54 centimeters. So I can put inches on the top and centimeters on the bottom. The 2.54 goes with the centimeters, and the 1 goes with the inch. So I actually like to just go ahead and plug my units in first, and then go back and worry about my numbers. So when I do this, the centimeters will cancel, and I'll end up just with my inches. And now I can plug this into my calculator, and I get 6.10. So 15.5 centimeters is 6.10 inches. All right, let's try another one. Let's try a longer one. Sometimes you have to do multiple steps, and if that's the case, no problem. You just do several steps in a row. Really no more difficult. So let's do this again. Now we want to convert 15.5 centimeters to nanometers, and I've included this table here to help us pick out any conversion factors we need. Well, I know I'm given 15.5 centimeters, and it wants me to find nanometers. Now, right off the bat, it looks like I don't have enough information, but that's why I say, oh, I have this table, so let's use it. So I know in my path, I'm going to need to turn the centimeters into something else. I need to get rid of them. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say, all right, what can I relate centimeters to? And the way that we read this is that your centi is always related to your base unit. So this is saying that 1 centi is equal to 0.01 of your base unit. In this case, it's going to be meters. So 1 centimeter is equal to 0.01 meters. So I'll write that here. 1 centimeter is equal to 0.01 meters. So we say, okay, I can get rid of my centimeters and I can turn them into meters because I have that relationship. But I didn't want to stop at meters. I wanted nanometers. So you say, okay, that's fine because that's on my chart too. I see that 1 nanometer is equal to this many meters. Now I don't like to write all of those zeros, so I'm going to use the scientific notation form 10 to the negative 9. So I know that 1 nanometer is equal to 10 to the negative 9 meters. So the 1 always goes with the prefix version, and the number always goes with the base unit just by his lonesome. And now we say, oh, good, I have a path. I'll go from centimeters to meters, and then from meters to nanometers. So I have two equalities and a number, so I'm going to start with that number, 15.5 centimeters. Now I know my centimeters are going to have to go down here, and I can relate those to my meters. And from this right here, 1 centimeter is equal to 0.01 meters. Alright, so my centimeters are going to cancel. Now I could stop here, get that answer, and then do another step, but I just like to tack them all together. So this time I had meters on top, so now he has to go on bottom. And I look up here and I say, oh, I can relate meters to my nanometers. And 1 nanometer is equal to 10 to the negative 9 meters. So now my meters will cancel and I'll be left with nanometers, which is what I was looking for. So now I know I'm done. So I have my units nanometers, and when I plug this into my calculator, I'm going to do 15.5 times 0.01 times 1, and then divided by 1, divided by 10 to the power of negative 9. So I multiply everything on the top together, and then divide it by everything on the bottom. So when you type this in your calculator, make sure you put those guys in parentheses down there. So here I say, okay, I'm going to do the math on that, and what I get is 1.55 times 10 to the negative, 10 to the 8 meters. Nanometers, sorry. 1.55 times 10 to the 8th nanometers. So again, if you're getting your exponent wrong, you're probably just putting this into your calculator incorrectly. So in that case, that's a really easy thing to show in person. Just stop by my office or in class. I'm happy to show you how to type that in. But as long as you're getting the 1.55, even if your exponent's off, that's probably just a calculator issue. We can figure that out. The main thing we want to get from this is how to set up our problems, make sure your units are canceling, and you end up with the unit you wanted.